Is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Welcome to it Mondays here at Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhodey, and you, 489-1240 to get in. 800-825-5865. There's a lot to get to. Busy weekend. We heard from Matt Rule. We saw the Fighting Freds do their thing on the road last night in the Great Northwest as they pull off the upset win at Oregon. Back-to-back ranked wins for Nebraska, back on the bubble. We'll hit on that, get some of your reaction. We'll dive into Mr. Eckler comes back to Big Red Country from Rocky Top. That's awesome for Nebraska football with Mike Eckler running special teams. So that's important for Nebraska moving forward. Rocco is in. That announcement yesterday. So Nebraska able to land their target on the interior offensive line. So busy news day and some thoughts. 489-1240. Can email Chris at hailvarsity.com and can find us on YouTube Hail Varsity, YouTube Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter, and can email Chris at hailvarsity.com. We'll get some of our starting five shout-outs in as well. On the docket, Tim Verghese, Inside Nebraska, going to be with us here in about 15 minutes. In hour two, Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie. And excited to run down Jay Moore from Big Red Wrap-Up, get Jay's thoughts on the Super Bowl, Jay's thoughts on Mr. Eckler, on Rocco. So that's what we're doing. So were you surprised? Some of you, maybe you had a gut feeling, was golfing yesterday with dear friend Elijah, and he was witness to my first and only ever 300-yard drive. All that being said, yes, there was ice involved. The pond was frozen. I will take a ricochet. But I look at all of this, and it was impressive. And I kind of had a gut. You're like, yeah, whatever, Schmidt, put the beer down. No, I had a gut feeling like, look, I thought Nebraska would play well. I think Oregon was in a bad spot, and kind of hinted on the Sunday Live Average Joe Sports Show. Absolutely take the Nebraska in points, maybe dabble with a little money line. And lo and behold, I ain't touching Wednesday. I'm not touching Wednesday, Justice, at Washington. But before we get into, and we'll hear from Mike Eckler the last time we had a chance to talk to him. That was right when he was getting into the Tennessee phase of his career. So, but he recounts the infamous Will Compton story, how he landed the Will Compton commitment. So we'll hear from Mike Eckler before we're done this segment. But to be honest with you, Justice, Nebraska basketball played the way they need to play. And we'll dive into plenty of football with Rocco and Rule and Eckler here with Tim Verghese. But this was Nebraska. This was the correct response. This was the 12-2 team you saw early in the season. This was the team that is led by two big dogs in Bryce and Jawan, and they were incredible. 32 of the 43 second half points. This is what Nebraska needs to be, and that is 17 and 19 for the rim, but more importantly, 19 shots at the rim, and they stopped settling for threes. That's been the biggest headache for Nebraska fans throughout this 6-game losing streak. They went 5 of 20 from three last night. Yeah, he still attempted 23s, but they hit some big ones, and specifically Gary. Gary hadn't made a three since the Wisconsin game. And he had gotten off to horrible offensive starts because it was so three-centric. Nebraska just played smart, composed basketball. 12 turnovers, not great. 4 at the end of the first half to keep that door open for Oregon. Oregon's got NBA talent. Oregon should be a 3 seed. Oregon has trouble buying in to Dana. Nebraska's bought into Fred, and they can keep playing that way. I'm not saying they're going to win every game, but if they keep playing like this, they'll be in every game.
Absolutely. And when you look at it, the rim protection was definitely there. Oregon shot 14 for 23 at the rim. That is not a number that they want to shoot with the kind of athletes that they have. And the big thing, the Huskers defended the three-point line on the road, 5 for 20 for Oregon. I wouldn't particularly call Oregon a proficient three-point shooting team, but they get them up. They shoot it at 33% as a team. And this is a team loaded with NBA talent. When you look at Jackson Shellstad at the guard spot, Nate Biddle's getting some second-round love at the center position, and mostly between Andrew Morgan and Braxton Mia and the defensive scheme of Nate Lenzer and Nebraska staff and what Fred put together, they were able to neutralize Nate Biddle, and he was a minus 27 in the plus-minus for his minutes for Oregon. And Dana Altman in the post-game press conference was talking about it. He's like, yeah, Nate's carried us through some games, and tonight he completely got taken out of it. And that was part of the Nebraska game, the defensive identity and the game plan that they wanted to establish. And when you get your guys going on the road, Bryce Williams, Jawan Gary looking unstoppable, going to the rim, trying to finish through contact, finding ways to get tough buckets late. Oregon goes on an 11-0 run at the later part of the first half. And then Fred inserts Raleigh Wooster. You get a veteran guard in there to help break the press, and the turnovers start to limit themselves. They were up 15 at one point. And then late in the game, even though they were 5 for 13 from the free throw line before they got to the later stretch. Once it got to crunch time, they closed it out, finishing 21 for 29 from the free throw line. Free throws in big moments helped this team, and that experience, that veteran roster finally showed its true colors on the road in a quad 1A win scenario.
No, and listen, you're going to have your ups and downs, your ebbs and flows in the season. But quite honestly, you had a guy in Gary set the tone. You had a guy in Gary attack the rim. I love, after 18 starts, Raleigh came in. I thought Raleigh played great defense. I thought he hit a couple of key shots. They hit their free throws. What Nebraska get to the line 28 times?
29. 21 for 29.
Right. So 29, 1 of 29 on the road is huge. And what's this all mean for Nebraska from a bracket matrix standpoint? It means that right now with the bracket matrix folks, they have Nebraska in 4 out of 91 brackets. You have Nebraska right now still in the last 4 in for Joe Lenardi. Katz and DeCourcy both have Nebraska as in the next 4 out, but you're back in that conversation with a win over Illinois. You're back in that conversation with the win at Oregon. Handle your business Wednesday night against Washington, and now you got a little saving grace to get into the Big Ten tournament right now. You're 4-7. This is the Nebraska team that was scrappy. They got to the foul line. They got off to a really good start. The insertion of Sammy Hoiberg's been that energy they need. They just played confident. I love watching Bryce get downhill. When you look at all of Bryce's 28 points, 22 of those came inside the arc. It was mid-range. It was to the rim. In the last 2 games against really good talent, Bryce has been the best dude on the floor with NBA scouts aplenty in Eugene, in Lincoln, to watch him and others. And Bryce was by far the top caliber, and he wanted it, man. He has taken ownership when it comes to winning time, and you need that. You needed that during that losing streak, and it's a different conversation if you win a couple of those one-score games against teams that are not as well thought of. Specifically, you look at Rutgers right now. That's one. But you're going to look at the month and say, hey, you got Oregon on the road, you got UCLA, you have Creighton. Those are impressive wins, and they're right up there with anyone else. Some of the cream, and I'm talking Sparty and I'm talking Purdue when it comes to ranked wins home and away. So you're in that short list right now. Handle your business. Right now, I think Nebraska is chasing Ohio State as probably the last Big Ten team in, and you have 2 cracks at them. Ohio State can be good or terrible, just like Nebraska can be on a given night.
Yeah, and it was wishy-washy for Ohio State in the game against Illinois. I know they shot particularly well at the rim, went 14 for 18 from the rim. They shot 8% on all other twos. It was not good for the Buckeyes on the road in Champaign. And that's another thing is when you're chasing some of these teams, it's those fine margins. How do you establish yourself? Well, you get 2 cracks at the Buckeyes with a first-year head coach, some veteran talent, some guys who were blue-chip recruits out of high school. And guess what? Fred Hoiberg and that staff and that team is playing with a swagger and a confidence again that we hadn't seen. It speaks to the mental toughness and the preparation and just the mentality of leadership in that locker room to go on a 6-game skid, losing a tough one, a heartbreaker in overtime in Iowa City. You go on that 6-game skid. There's a couple blowouts in there. Purdue comes to mind. Wisconsin comes to mind. And they just kept their head in it, right? They come back. They get the Pinnacle Bank Arena crowd behind them. They get a big surge in overtime. Bryce Williams completely takes over the game in free basketball time. And then you go on the road against a team that had just gotten walloped by UCLA on the road. They get back in their home barn and you control the game. They controlled the tempo. They were able to stay solid and composed even when Oregon went on the 11-0 run. And that's a team that looks composed. Handle your business against Washington. You've got a ton of quad 1 opportunities coming up to pad your resume and make yourself look good. You get most of the good ones at home, Maryland, Ohio State, Michigan. Handle the business, and you're talking about a tournament team and a team that's safely in the conversation for a high seed in the Big Ten tournament.
Well, yeah, do that. Right now, you're probably looking at an 11 if you're gifted that opportunity, but plenty of season left. And February, Fred, is a real thing. Let's get our starting 5 shout-outs. 3-putt is in, says Duck Soup. Patrick, good to have you. NASCAR Eric is here. Good to have NASCAR Eric. Jeff Snitley is in, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty. Grateful Red checks in from Colorado. Arlo is here. Ronnie checks in. Great Red Shark is here. The real Matthew says hello. Brian Snitley says in like Eckler. Love it. Kobe is here. Kobe still says 11 days till baseball. QB1 Ace says in from Northern Arkansas. I think Eddie Murphy and Raw said it best. All right, Rocco. Was Raw the purple or the red leather outfit? I forget. You had Delirious and you had Raw. And I talked my mother into renting Raw one time for us. Unfortunately, she had no clue of Eddie's art of swearing. So, yeah, that was a fun What did you have me rent? Well, it said it was rated R, Mom. What'd you think? It's Eddie Murphy. Uncle Larry's here. Captain says, go Big Fred. The other Rocco is in. Like it. Anonymous is here. So the basketball team is back on the bubble. I guess I have to start taking heart medication again. Hey, yeah, exactly. Tim is here. Tim, good to have you. Jay Downey. Got to update that intro. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Robert here. Robert, good to have you. Montana Husker fan. Why is Sackman taking shots on the way out? Come on, dude. Yeah, James Williams was talking about talent difference and fair question. And anytime you have to start a conversation with, no offense or no disrespect, ...
It always follows, doesn't it?
Yeah, not good. Not good. Game Dog is here as well. We don't have time for Eckler, do we?
We're running up against
Okay, so we're going to have that legendary conversation we had with Mike Eckler here towards the end of the hour on his ability to go get Will Compton. So when Eckler was just joining Tennessee, he joined us here on the show, was able to find that archive. Real quick on Rocco, we'll get Tim Verghese's thoughts here in about 5 minutes, but good for Nebraska. They finish now top 5 in the portal rankings, number 5. And when I talked to a family friend of Rocco's about Rocco and where things were at. And listen, Rocco's a guy that is kind of throwback, no nonsense. And, the questions, why leave Notre Dame, especially if you started 13 games, And I don't think Notre Dame was showing him out the door. I think Notre Dame was just like, look, you're good. We may have better in our opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And, Rocco did them a solid by being ready, by being at a certain level and coming in and doing work on that right side of the offensive line. And when I look at Rocco and just talking with a friend of the family, it really wasn't about facilities or money, although those things can help.
Yeah, they do. When that paycheck hits, it just makes playing a little bit sweeter.
It can help, but I think he's excited about kind of taking what he's been a part of to what Nebraska wants and needs. And that's a guy that has played in and performed in big games. Think of that playoff run. We talk about what Ohio State went through, but to be honest, I mean, Notre Dame also kind of ran a gauntlet without a bye, like Ohio State. The teams they beat to get to the title game, those are some dudes you're firing up against. So bringing that ability to play and win big games to Lincoln, listen, that's part of the reason you went to Georgia for some of their guys. Bring that championship culture to your locker room. And Nebraska is a team that's trying to climb to a certain level. I'd take all the playoff participants you can get if they're looking around. But it's a statement for Nebraska that it's a program that still matters in the portal. And here's a guy that's been to a championship round, wants to help Nebraska get there. All right, Tim Verghese on the way.
Dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy, or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avastin-capted Pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
You've got your very own handyman to help remodel your home.
Don't miss our kitchen sink sale. Top quality brands include Blanco, Kohler, and Barclay. 30 sinks in stock and on sale at Handyman Home Remodeling Center.
The best thing about Nebraska winters is planning for the spring. Hi, this is Chris Goforth. Join me and the experts from Earl May every Saturday morning for In the Garden as we help you prepare for the upcoming spring season. In the Garden, Saturday mornings at 8:30 right here on KFOR.
Are you tired of buying new shoes because of pain and discomfort in your ankles, knees, hips, feet, or lower back? Maybe you don't need new shoes. Maybe you need high-quality support in your shoes. That's where the Good Feet store can help you, like Teresa.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet, and the Good Feet arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed. I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. Cowboy boots, running shoes, walking shoes, flat shoes, heels. It makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store.
Live the life you love. Come to the Good Feet store today. Visit the store at 27th and Pine Lake.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Tail Varsity Monday edition. Steve checking in from Houston, and also checking in. And we say hi to Mr. Recruiting, Tim Verghese, with us inside Nebraska. Rivals.com, at Tim Verghese on Twitter. Tim, good to have you. Thanks for a few minutes. How we doing? How's your Monday?
Hey, not too bad. How about y'all? Anything happen last few days?
Brother, it's been a whirlwind. It's Rule Presser. It's Rocco Watch Sunday. It's an old buddy, Mike Eckler, coming back. If I had any biceps, I'd go get Eckler temporary tattooed on my left bicep just to say, what's up, Eck? Welcome back. And then, Husker basketball made it happen. So we've got some distraught Nebraska fans in the stream. Not that Rocco, but another Rocco, not happy about James Williams' comments at Florida State. So there's that to tackle. I want to get your take, though, on the Rocco Spindler get for Nebraska, reaction to Nebraska finding their way into the top 5 when it comes to portal rankings, Sweet 16 being Rocco, and the get for Nebraska on the offensive line.
It's a big deal, and it gives them some flexibility. Gives you, especially, I think more so now than ever. When you listen to Matt Rule talk on Saturday about what the offensive line could look like this spring, you needed help, you needed reinforcements, and Rocco now gives you kind of the flexibility to potentially move Justin Evans to center full time, to kind of move Henry Lutovsky around, play with that that other guard spot a little bit. I don't think they may not be done on the offensive line. You could see them stay active in the spring to potentially add one more. But, a big win just in the sense that it kind of shows the NIL muscle they flex. And it kind of, in a way, we saw in the first iteration of when the portal first opened and they were after some of these offensive linemen, they missed out on some guys that ended up going to Missouri and other programs, and people kind of questioned Nebraska's spending ability. I think Nebraska can spend when they want to, and they wanted to spend on Rocco Spindler. And I think it's a testament to kind of what they think of Spindler.
I think you're right. I don't worry about the war chest for Nebraska football. I don't worry about the war chest for Nebraska athletics, because the greatest thing that Nebraska has is the fans, the fan base, and the fan base willing to fill up the offering plate, so to speak, to help their football team, to help their volleyball, to help the programs they love. They want to see a winner, and they can be a part of it. They have been for God knows how many Saturdays consecutively. So the funding part, while it's not a deep iceberg per se, still an iceberg, with that funding. So with Rocco, what do you think he brings? I know depth and options and availability, considering what Rule said about the walking wounded on that offensive line. All that being said, just to me, I look at this, and this is a guy who battled for his career to get a shot, made the most of it in 13 starts, being thrust into that. He was ready. He performed well, but that championship mentality, is there a part of this edition that weighs in with that, Tim, in your opinion, what Rocco's been through and how Rocco's won? He brings that to a program that's trying to get there.
Yeah, I think you get the experience of a guy that's been to a national championship, understands what it takes to get there, understands the next man up mentality. You lost a good leader in the room in Ben Scott, and you have some veterans, of Bryce Benhart as well. You have some veterans in that O-line room, like Teddy, like Turner, Justin Evans. I think at this point can be considered a veteran, even Henry Lutovsky. But you get a guy in Rocco who I think, just from example, can be the leader of that room. I think even dating back to high school, what you heard about him, like a wrestling background, like a hard-nosed, gritty, tough football player that likes the grind, that likes all of that. Like, I think it's a guy that I think he's going to come in and has an opportunity to kind of be the de facto leader in that room, just through and earn it through the spring.
Yeah, Tim, wanted to get your opinion here. When you look at Nebraska's transfer portal class, top 5 in all of the land, and they went and got guys from all over the map. You talk about Justin Rhett, who comes from a storied program in Georgia, a swing on Jalen George from, ETSU, looking at Kevin Gallick from New Hampshire. They went all over the map. They bring in high upside swings in Williams Winery. They go out and get a guy who's got 1 year, could be an impact player in Desam McCullough. When you look at this, now adding Rocco Spindler to it, what do you make of this transfer class as a whole? How much of a boost do you think this gives Nebraska in the long term in the transfer portal and recruiting markets?
I think it just from a bigger picture standpoint shows Nebraska can kind of play like we talked about, like from a money standpoint, they can flex muscles a little bit now. They have that ability to kind of go out and get guys and beat out top programs, considered other elite programs for top targets. But more than anything, I think I like the strategy of, hey, we're kind of going all in to make this year 3 jump by getting guys with a year of eligibility, like a Rocco Spindler, like a Deshaun McCullough, but we're also building for the long term with guys like Justin Rhett, with guys like Isaiah Hunter, with guys like, on the defensive line, Jalen George has a couple potential years. Williams and Winery is going to give you multiple years. In the linebacker room, you added Marquise Watson, Trent, but you also have some young guys in that room. In the secondary, Jameer Khan, Justin Rhett, both those guys are young. Like, you have guys now that could potentially be building blocks, not for 25, but 26 and beyond. But you also have guys like Deshaun McCullough, like Dane Key, like Rocco Spindler, who are going to have an immediate impact and probably be 3 of your better players in 2025.
And good for Nebraska not standing pat, right, Tim? They're going and they're acquiring more talent. We've heard Dana talk about bluntly needing to get more guys. Nebraska has done that now. Piece it together and go win some ball games. Tim Verghese with his Inside Nebraska. Tim, want to get your take on Junior Elite Day. Ton of dudes in, some high value targets for the Big Red. Some guys have been here before. Some guys are making their trip for the first time. But overall, takeaways from some of the names you're familiar with, some of the names that maybe were wowed by their first experience in Lincoln. What'd you see or what'd you hear from this past weekend for Nebraska?
Yeah, intel's still steadily flowing in. We've got that over at InsideNebraska.com. They had a couple flip targets. 4-star linebacker Jordan Campbell is committed to Miami, and 4-star safety Devin Jackson committed to Florida. Nebraska's kind of earned some staying power with both of them. Both of them are committed elsewhere, but are exploring other options. I think Nebraska's well positioned as one of the bigger, if not the biggest threat to the teams, the teams they're both currently committed to after their first times on campus. Campbell's going to come back for an official visit, potentially come back for another unofficial visit this spring. Jackson's going to come back for an official visit as well. The big news kind of beyond the Elite Junior Day was Nebraska's out of the mix for Jackson Cantwell, the 5-star offensive tackle, but they hosted 3 other offensive line targets. Claude Mpuma, fast rising prospect who's 6'8", out of Chicago. And they also had Kelvin Obit, a 4-star offensive tackle out of Idaho, and then a rising prospect, Rex Waterman, out of Arizona. I think Nebraska is way up there with all 3. I think at least 2 of the 3, I feel good about Nebraska potentially landing if they want 2 of the 3 when it's all said and done. I thought you saw, again, I think just a sign of things to come with Dakeil Shorts leading the room. The fact that they got 2 4-star receivers in town for the first time. 2 guys, Ryan Mosley has Georgia and South Carolina heavily in the mix. Jabari Brady has Florida, Ohio State, LSU, Oklahoma heavily in the mix. Like, Nebraska's going up against those type of programs now for receivers. And I think you're going to keep seeing elite receivers coming into Nebraska, checking out what, Dakeil Shorts, Dana Holgerson, Dylan Raiola have to offer. So I think you're going to see receiver. I think this is a sign of things to come on both sides of the ball. Addison Williams, I think, doing a good job bringing in top targets. I'm interested to see. I think, I don't think you're going to see any imminent decisions from this, but I mean, every guy I've talked to, they are higher on Nebraska coming out of the weekend than they were going into the weekend, whether it's seeing campus for the first time, like a Devin Jackson, like a Jordan Campbell, so on and so forth, but also guys like Jace Reynolds, a guy in-state linebacker that's been to campus practically every home game. Matt Erickson, 2027 in-state offensive line targets, has been, on campus as much as he can since landing an offer last summer. Even those guys learned something new this weekend. So I think across the board, very positive visit. And one quick note, just from a staffing standpoint, all of the new coaches are making a big impact. I mean, I talked about Shorts, I talked about Williams, but man, don't count out Dana Holgerson, the recruiter. Like, I didn't know how much he was going to be involved. He's everywhere. Like, he's talking to every offensive target. He's heavily involved. He's making sure these guys feel good about Nebraska. Like, he's not really been known for his recruiting prowess on the trail. Like, he's done a good job of putting together good staffs around him. But now that he's has an opportunity to kind of lead the offense, he's doing a really impressive job. And I think, the more Nebraska can get out of him as a recruiter, the better they will be as a program, because the guys love his energy.
He's a closer, dude. His personality's fantastic. He's funny. He's no BS. He can connect with anybody. I mean, he's dynamic when he wants to be, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer for him, right? It's just a matter of the space he's able to recruit in now versus the have to part, on top of being pulled 70 different ways, in my opinion, as a head guy.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the fact that he has that, doesn't have to deal with anything. He just kind of focus on recruiting and focus on ball. But the other part of this too, he has more resources than he's ever had before. Didn't have this type of money at Houston, didn't have this type of quarterback at Houston, didn't have it ever at West Virginia either. Like, he's never had resources like this to kind of go on the recruiting trail and be like, who do I want? Ideally, what would my offense look like? What I like, and you're seeing kind of like they're bringing in big body receivers, they're bringing in dynamic running backs, elite electric tight ends. They're spreading the ball out. They're doing a good job of bringing dynamic weapons in. I think it's going to be a fun offseason for those guys.
All right, I need overtime. I have a whopping 90 seconds. I need to go with this 90 seconds before smidge of overtime on Cantwell. Given his family ties to Nebraska, are you shocked Nebraska's not in the top 6?
Yeah, pretty. Like, I mean, I just in the sense that again, at this point, Nebraska felt like they've been fading for the last few weeks or so, but I thought they'd stick around. I thought they'd make the top 6. I thought they may get an official visit from him, even if they weren't going to ultimately be the choice. I thought he'd keep them in the mix, and I don't necessarily think the door is closed necessarily, but I don't know if Nebraska's going to continue to waste resources or spend resources in a recruitment they don't think they have a realistic shot at anymore.
That is shocking. That is shocking.
Absolutely.
That me talking mom and dad Olympians at Nebraska in 20, Crete. I mean, it's tough. Nebraska should be
all over this.
Right.
They should be
I get that they're not in that top 6 airspace of wins on the field, but, home should count for something. Hang tight. Tim Verghese continues.
Tuesday night, Omaha Central is at Lincoln North Star. You can join Will Wilson for the play-by-play. We'll have coverage beginning at 7:05 right here.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Yesterday, your water heater worked just fine. Today, surprise! When you're out of hot water, just call the plumbers at Bryant. In most cases, you can get same-day water heater replacement. What you won't get is a costly surprise with the bill. At Bryant, the price you're quoted is the price you'll pay. No last-minute extras for piping or ventilation alterations. Need a new water heater? Just call Bryant, 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes. Between all the holidays,
weekend tailgates,
and family get-togethers,
we've been overindulging a little more than usual over the holidays. But now, we are starting the new year off on a healthier note by taking Active Liver supplements from New Nordic every day.
Active Liver contains a powerful blend of turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract. All natural ingredients that help protect the liver so that it can protect you from toxins. It's like giving my body a daily detox. I've never felt better, and my energy is through the roof.
And my doctor is already impressed with how much better my numbers are looking. So if better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today and start the year off knowing you're giving your liver some well-deserved relief.
Active Liver is available in both tablets and as a delicious gummy. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or newnordicusa.com.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Surprise! Your table saw broke. Also, the warranty expired weeks ago, so you need to pay for a new one out of pocket.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Oh, and the replacement part you ordered doesn't fit, so it's completely useless. What a waste.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Hey, this is Dan Bongino. As a former NYPD police officer, Secret Service agent, and a TV host, I'll bring Nebraska an honest
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time here, some overtime. Tim Verghese with us inside NebraskaRivals.com at Tim Verghese with us. Where you follow him. Tim, I got to talk Mike Eckler. Big fan of Mike Eckler. Many moons ago, Mike Eckler would pop into this studio I'm still sitting in, and he may or may not have had a four-star quarterback with him just sitting off to the side to flex a little about doing radio. But the statutes have now long expired since we're in the NIL era, and it's all good. Reaction to Nebraska being able to land Eckler coming back to Lincoln. He's had success everywhere he's been, and I know he's been a lot of spots, but the guy's a winner. The guy's a recruiter. And I'm just, knowing him a little bit, excited for him. But I'm excited for the Nebraska program because they get another dude at a coordinator spot.
Yeah, another dude and a guy that brings some energy, naturally, of course, but has like that energy.
Coach Red Bull, baby.
Yeah, you have some energy. Like again, personality-wise, Rule does a good job of getting guys amped, but they have it in a different way now. Like Dana, naturally, you saw kind of the energy he brings. Eckler brings an energy itself, and he has the type of energy where you can turn this. My belief and my kind of desire in this special teams coach was for Nebraska to find a guy that doesn't just make it like a net neutral, but makes it a net positive. And Eckler has that ability to do that in one offseason. Like I think he can instill an energy, instill a mindset in the guys playing special teams that to take pride in it, to take, to understand what type of difference you can make. And we've seen what he did at Tennessee. See what he can do at Nebraska with some of the athletes Nebraska has. Right now, Rule said on Saturday, this is not a recruiting position. We'll see how long that lasts. We'll see how long you can keep Eckler off the road, how long, I think it would take a couple just like visit weekends for Rule to realize kind of what an asset he could be on the recruiting trail.
He's done a great job throughout his career. And I just kind of rattle off the who's who. I mean, we're talking Philip Dillard, Levante David, Will Compton, Caveman, Eric Martin, Caveman, and Cody Glenn. I mean, those are all guys that spent time in the NFL. Levante's still in the NFL. But just
his hit right at Nebraska is impressive, man.
Oh, guys that have played for him, either he recruited or either he inherited, got on to the next level. I mean, Levante's a Hall of Famer. Will Compton was a hell of a ball player and an incredible broadcaster. So, I mean, yeah, his hit rate's great. And some of those guys, Brandon Kenny, junior college. I mean, so the ties he had from his days at K-State to the Jayhawk League and JUCO is nice, but also he's been at SC. He's been at Georgia. He's been at North Carolina. North Carolina is sneaky undertapped in my book as far as ball players, dudes. And then he's been, at Rocky Top, and they killed it there. We're talking less than 120 yards and return yards all season long. But you said it, and I think Eckler can put this out there instead of playing special teams, Tim, and it's Well, yeah, I'm on special teams. It's a job. No, it's a duty. and he'll get you fired up, or he'll find somebody that is fired up to play it. And it is that mentality, is an excitement. It's kind of a he can make it a glamour spot, quite frankly. And
yeah, absolutely. And in general, I don't think you can have enough like ball playing, loving guys. Like, you know what I mean? Guys that love football, the way Eckler loves football, the way some of these guys, Dana Holgerson, Da'Keil Shores, Addison Williams, the way some of these guys love football. Rob Dvorak, quiet as it's kept, a guy that quietly fiery, and so I think it's a staff of guys that like ball, guys that can get the best out of the players, and guys I think this team is going to like playing for.
Absolutely, and that talent eval not off. You got one more?
Yeah, just wanted to ask you real quick, Tim, with the way that this staff's shaping out now, you got Eckler, they bring in Phil Simpson, they bring in Da'Keil Shorts, they bring in Dana Holgerson as the full-time offensive coordinator. There's a juice and there's a palpable energy. How do you think this translates to Nebraska's recruiting and reach long-term in some of the ways that they can kind of energize position groups and maybe make some of these lesser-known spots and some of the, some of the unheralded spots on the field more glamorous to recruits?
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, I think it's just the fact that you have adults kind of in the room at certain positions, and you have across the board guys that know what they're doing, put together a very, very decisive board. Like, you see what they're doing at wide receiver. It's like, hey, they didn't come in and they went and found some sleepers they could potentially land. They went out and they offered some of the best receivers in the country and said, hey, you know what? We're going to go up against Georgia. We're going to go up against Florida. We're going to battle the who's who in college football and try and land some of these guys. Addison Williams took the job and immediately went out and is offering 4 or 5-star DBs and trying to get those guys on campus. He got a Florida safety on campus this week. He's going to get a Georgia DB commit on campus later this spring. Like that's a big deal. That's nothing. That's nothing to kind of just like look over. So they're doing a really good job of getting guys on campus. I think you're going to see South Florida be hit hard. I think you're going to see just in general the country get hit hard, and these guys have resources to kind of work with now. I think they're going to start recruiting like a top end Big Ten program rather than a program that, like in years past under Rule, they have to find these diamonds in the rough. They're still going to do that, of course. They're still going to keep, every opportunity available to find good football players. But I think their first choices now are going to be 4 or 5-star guys instead of 3 4-star guys.
Hey, like we talked about to start the convo, you've got the war chest to do it, and you've got the guys that A, can coach and get you there, but also B, you've got the personalities guys want to play for. That's a nice combo. Tim Verghese. Tim, we'll do this again soon. Appreciate you as always, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, there he is, Tim Verghese with us from inside Nebraska, rivals.com, at Tim Verghese on Twitter. So that is good intel from him. We'll post both segments here with Tim on the YouTube channel, and of course the podcast page. Hail Varsity podcast is where you search Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Now the feedback, the blowback, I don't have the clip. I was a big, and still am, a big James Williams guy, and his comments still irked some Nebraska fans from the weekend. It's a snippet in time. There's presumably a full context, and I'm not saying this was taken out of context at all. It is a bad look and can be offensive on one hand. On the other hand, folks have pointed out, especially on social media, because that's never vicious, you're at a 2-10 football team now. So, and listen, you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. You're asked a point blank question about Tony White and the defense and how you fit, how it'll work. And it's a rare situation James is in, paired with his guy in a new spot. Mm-hmm. And you've got the, Seminole Nation saying, all right, what's this going to what's this going to be next season for us? And Florida State should have elite level defense. They should have elite Florida talent on that 2 deep defensively. They should have NFL pass rushers, linebackers. They should have a back end that is going to be on Sundays, for the love of God.
Yeah, but the thing is with modern college football, you can say should all you want. It's the Cannon Wills that end up playing in college football.
And should, and quite frankly, they should have been a 10-2 football team last year with the talent. All right, we'll play that Eckler clip for you coming up.
So when I need to get stuff done at home, I like to go to Handyman as my go-to place.
You've got your very own handyman to help remodel your home.
I've actually remodeled my bathroom recently. When I first started, the walls were just kind of a plastic covered surrounding. So I wanted to take them down and I wanted to do tile work. When I went to buy some of the stuff from Handyman, they're very informative on letting me know, well, you need to do this first before you cover it up with tile. That way you don't have to tear down tile to go back and redo plumbing. My name is Brian Wilson. I went to Handyman to get my sink, shower heads, and the spigots.
Our Handyman team will be happy to help you plan any project.
We will tell you some of the necessary steps that need to be taken behind the scenes before you purchase your bathroom accessories.
Don't miss our kitchen sink and shower sale going on right now.
For the very best in bathrooms, come to Handyman under the arch on Sun Valley Boulevard, Lincoln.
Handyman.
Your wife says you're crabby. Your kids say you won't get off the couch, and you're sick of hearing about it. Find out what's really wrong by having your levels checked at Limitless Male. Our lab testing is in-house, so within 15 minutes, Limitless Male will know if you have low testosterone. And if it is low T, our medical providers will offer alternatives to get you on the fast track to a better you. So don't monkey around with wannabe experts. See the real men's health experts. Free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
I plan to rearrange my closet, but I stopped after picking the clothes up off the floor.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's award-winning language learning app will help you start speaking another language. Start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
Comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles? Vous êtes où?
Vous êtes où?
Babbel's bite-sized lessons make it easy to learn words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks,
how's your French going?
You can say,
Babbel est amusant et facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue. Et cela ne prend que 15 minutes par jour.
When you want to really learn another language, it starts with Babbel. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
So KG chimed into the stream, and you're welcome to ask Charlie something here in about 10 minutes. Coach McBride coming up. So apparently the Lakers sent Elijah to the Mavs as part of the Luka deal. How about old Dallas getting crushed for that?
I mean, my good. Like, I watched the press conference, and Nico Harrison is getting panned. Jason Kidd's sitting there looking distraught and just looking completely displeased with life. And Nico Harrison's sitting there.
It takes a lot to get Jason Kidd distraught.
Right. And it's like,
to be frank with you.
Right. And it's like the guy's been everywhere. He's done a bunch of different things around the NBA. And Nico Harrison's just kind of like, yeah, I want to buy into long-term defensive identity. And we think this is good in the long term. And Jason Kidd's sitting there like, you just traded a top 5 player in the league, dude. Like, I thought I had him.
Yeah, and we get a guy that's hurt all the time. Mike Eckler, never hurt. Mike Eckler, when he went off to Rocky Top, our chat, that legendary reeling in of one Will Compton. Here's Eck from a past Hail Varsity.
And he was committed to Coach Callahan. So Bo goes to Bonne Terre, Missouri with Coach Osborne. Okay. And they go see Coach Osborne first day. And Bo calls me up and he goes, hey, Eck. He goes, I don't care if we sign one guy in this class. He goes, we're building our defense around Will Compton. I love that dude. And I'm like, that's easy. the guy's already been committed. So the next week I go see him, and I go there and have a great time, great visit with him in the school. And we're walking out of school, and Will goes, "Hey, Coach Eck, man, I really appreciate you coming." He goes, I gotta be honest with you. I'm not coming to Nebraska. I just haven't decommitted yet. Said I went to the Southern Cal game, and that was ridiculous, man. He goes, I'm not coming. I'm not playing there. So I'm either going to Missouri or going with Coach Zook over at Illinois. And I get in my car, and my phone rings, and it was Bo. And he goes, "Hey, Eck, how'd it go?" And I thought to myself, we all know Bo. He's kind of reserved, doesn't get angry very easily.
No, not at all.
I said, "Hey, Bo, it went great."
So you had to re-recruit him all over again. How'd you get Will back?
Yeah.
How'd you get Will back?
Oh yeah, I think it was a tattoo. I think that pushed him over the edge.
Well, folks may have heard of it. So did you fake? I know the story, but my audience may or may not remember. What did you do? Was it your right or left bicep?
It was my right bicep. Before we got, we had one last chance on a Sunday. We went and flew the entire defensive staff over to Bonne Terre, Missouri. And before we left Lincoln, I went to a tattoo parlor and got a 2-week temporary tattoo with skull and crossbones on it and Compton in Old English below it. And we were there for probably 4 hours at the house, and I invited his best friend over and his girlfriend. I mean, we had a blast. And before we're leaving, I said, "Hey, Will, I got a little something here to remind me for the rest of my life, every time I look in the mirror, if you don't come to the University of Nebraska, you're making the biggest mistake of your life." And I pulled up my shirt, and his dad is just a classic. His dad gets out of his lazy boy, goes, "Boy, that's a tattoo I'm getting right there."
And the rest, as they say, that's awesome. That's awesome. So
2 days later, I'm walking through the airport in Omaha, and my phone rings, and it's Will. And it was the day he was going to make his decision. And he goes, "Coach Eck, man, I freaking, I love you, man. And I appreciate you recruiting me, and, you guys just getting here and busting it hard." And he goes, "But, I want to let you know I'm gonna go to Illinois." And I'm standing there, and I said, "Well, man, Will, that kills me, man." He goes, "I'm messing with you. I'm coming to Nebraska."
And you deserve a legal partner who will work just as hard to protect it.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
Hi, it's Schmitty here. Let's talk about GLP-1s, like semaglutides, those weight loss injections that seem to be all the rage these days. If you're currently using semaglutide injections but aren't seeing the results you want, or you've hit a plateau, don't worry. The team at Lincoln Weight Loss is ready to help you speed up your results safely and effectively. Maybe you had to stop taking the injections due to side effects, or because your insurance no longer covers your treatment, or because you've gained the weight back. Don't give up. Go to LincolnWeightLoss.com today. They can help.
There is a lot of talk about semaglutide injections right now. With these injections, many people are facing failed results, bad side effects, rising costs, or simply want to get off the injections. At Lincoln Weight Loss, they offer a breakthrough natural approach to help reset your metabolism to get the weight off fast and easy and keep it off without exercising, prepackaged foods, or counting calories. Find out more at LincolnWeightLoss.com.
Which room in your home could use new flooring? Carpets Direct is your #1 source for all things floors, providing free in-home estimates, unparalleled service, and a 2-year guarantee. Your home should be your sanctuary, and Carpets Direct has you covered. From plush carpet, luxury vinyl, hardwood, laminate, and sheet vinyl flooring, Carpets Direct is the ultimate flooring destination. Call or visit today, South 48th Street, Lincoln.
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, and KFRX HD3, Lincoln.
From
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. Consumers shielded from tariff price hikes for the moment from two countries. President Trump has struck a deal with Canada that's similar to the one announced with Mexico earlier today.
President Trump posted on social media he will not move forward on Tuesday with the tariffs he announced on Canada, saying they'll be paused for a 30-day period. The president said he spoke to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who told him Canada would be implementing a $1.3 billion border plan, which includes enhanced coordination with the U.S. and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. This plan had already been announced by Canada in December. A 25% tariff on all Canadian products coming into the U.S. was set to go into effect Tuesday, as well as a 10% tariff on Canadian oil and gas. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Mexico's president agreed to send an additional 10,000 National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexico border for enforcement against drugs and migrants. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, now head of the U.S. agency in charge of foreign aid. This comes after Elon Musk, who heads President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, told employees not to come to work and threatened to shut it down. Foreign aid is 1% of the federal budget. Recovery efforts have entered a new phase in last week's mid-air collision of an American Airlines flight with an Army Black Hawk helicopter over the Potomac River in Washington. ABC News contributor, aviation expert John Nance says investigators are trying to piece together data from the moments before the collision.
The air traffic controllers were reading 200 feet. The chopper may have been at 325 feet. That's a very important element. Also, where was the track of the helicopter versus the aircraft, and could they see each other in any way? That's nighttime now, so you're not looking for just an image of a helicopter. You're looking for a light out there, and the helicopter was looking for the same thing. But we've got to find out all the contributory elements of this accident.
67 people were killed in the mid-air crash. You're listening to ABC News.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
A couple of teens face weapons and threats-related offenses. Hello, I'm Willow Wilson. It's 34 degrees at KFOR. A couple of Lincoln teens are at the youth detention center after one of them had a stolen gun and the other allegedly made threats to harm students in Lincoln Public Schools. It was last Thursday night where the father of a 16-year-old boy called police to his central Lincoln area home thinking his son stole a firearm. But on Friday, officers were called to a northwest Lincoln area home where they contacted a 14-year-old boy after finding out he had the weapon. LPD Public Information Manager Erica Thomas's officers found the gun and ammo.
The 14-year-old male was referred and lodged for possession of a stolen firearm and possession of a firearm by a prohibited juvenile offender.
During the investigation, officers found out the 16-year-old had allegedly made threats to shoot multiple students. He had also been referred to the youth detention center. Thomas says there are no active threats towards schools involved at this time. Deputies made a traffic stop late Saturday night near Northwest 48th and West O Street for a 50-year-old Lincoln man for weaving in the westbound lanes. It was later determined that he had been drinking after smelling alcohol, and a search of the truck found a small handgun.
But it was loaded, and he has a past history of violence and carrying concealed weapons.
Lancaster County Chief Deputy Sheriff Ben Hounshin says further investigation revealed that Stephen Stowers is a convicted felon and is prohibited from having a firearm. He was arrested on several offenses and put in jail. At this hour, the Lincoln City Council is set to vote on whether some resolution should appear on the April 8th primary ballot for voter approval. That includes continuing the quarter-cent sales tax for the Lincoln on the Move Street Improvement Program to fix streets for another 8 years. On KFOR last week, Lincoln Chamber of Commerce President Jason Ball said the best move would be to continue the tax if big road projects need to move forward.
And then see if there are different ways that through other revenue resources the city has available, if there are other ways to fund streets and roads. And that can be through, looking at budgets and seeing what's available in reserves and those types of things.
The original 6-year run on the tax is set to expire on September 30th. Mostly cloudy tonight with a low near 19. I'm Willow Wilson, KFOR News.
When the winter weather arrives, the TV stations start their choreographed dance. The live shot from a busy street, the stock footage of the salt trucks. Yeah, that's fine. But what happens when the cable goes out? Or the power? Lincoln's KFOR reminds you to keep a battery-powered radio handy this winter. Because as much as we laugh, when we see a reporter sticking a ruler in the snow, you know, some storms just aren't that funny.
Keep up with the local news, sports, your favorite talk shows, and pro shows on KFOR wherever you roam. Stream us 24/7 at KFORnow.com or on your mobile. You can download the free iHeart or TuneIn app and stream KFOR on the go.
The following is a paid program. Content is provided by Hurrdat Media and may contain pre-recorded material. KFOR staff, management, and ownership.
This is Christian Peter. I'm sorry, but the stories I have about Charlie are not appropriate for the public.
The right case of the Mondays. It's Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, on Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Tower 2. It's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt and Justice Rhodey. You can find Justice on Twitter at Justice Rhodey, at Schmidt_radio. Folks in the stream already screaming Charlie. Uncle Charlie says game dog. Mr. Blackshirt is here. Coach Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie. Coach, how was the weekend? How are you doing?
Oh, doing good. The weather's, Michigan's known for its shades of gray. And so we have some of that. And so we have some of that today. But, the lake, the ice is funny. It's been on and off. So we've had our spell just like you have. We almost can say we're going to get the same thing you've gotten.
Well, it was 61 degrees yesterday, and I was golfing. So I hope I send it your way.
It's picture perfect.
Well, that's good. Our guys weren't golfing here. They were not yet. They didn't put the flags out yet. Sometimes they put them out in the winter. They didn't put them out this winter.
Well, we snuck one in at least before it got too dark. 14 holes, and that's all she wrote. So
that's good. That's good.
It was a pretty busy weekend. We got to hear from Matt Rule. Nebraska got Rocco Spindler. His dad was a really good defensive tackle that ended up at Pitt, that played for the Lions for about 9 years, or a couple of stints with the Lions anyway, but 9 years in the NFL. Mark Spindler. And then, of course, Nebraska is trying to figure out things moving forward for the spring game. Mike Eckler's coming back. Coach Eckler, one of my favorites when he was here earlier in his career. So a lot to talk about football-wise and the Super Bowl. What's your take on the spring game, though? And I get where Coach Rule's coming from a tampering or a poaching standpoint and an injury and an investment. And I know it was different when you were coaching with the spring game, but your thoughts, if it's not what it used to be, that's that practice, that game in front of folks to end the spring session.
Yeah, well, the kids, what's going to happen is the players are going to get used to this. I mean, and once they're used to it, they won't know any other way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way it is. And instead of saying, well, back when so-and-so, we did it this way and that way, it's not going to be that way anymore. It's going to be completely changed. You worry a little bit about the loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Kids that are playing in the spring game and the next day they're gone to someplace else. And that's a thing you kind of worry about. You just wonder. But I think as time goes on, I think once the conference gets straightened out, and whether they're going to stay in the NCAA or they're going to go somewhere else, that'll come soon. I think, within the next year. I mean, soon, but I think people are going to figure all that out too. And once that's done, you'll see more rules.
Mm-hmm. Charlie McBride with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, when it comes to additions in the portal. Nebraska was able to add another guy on the offensive line in Rocco Spindler, played really well for Notre Dame as a guy who came in, was ready to go, had backed up, and then started a total of 20 games in his career, has one more year, and after thinking about some different schools, decided to choose Nebraska. What do you think about the addition of a guy that played pretty good football on Notre Dame's offensive line?
Well, that's going to be he'll be a leader right away, and I think where he came from makes a difference too. I think they're not just a bunch of ragtags, and if he has another year, kids will I think they'll kind of gather around him, and hope he can, have some leadership skills. A lot of times the kids don't, but I would think he probably does, and he knows what loyalty is, I think. Because if it's his last year, if it's a graduate year, I don't know. But, a lot of times I think that they see they want to play their last year. They want to and show themselves. And if there's two people and he's alternating a lot or doing this and that, they get a little bit antsy and think it's it's the best thing for them, and it is. We've had 2 or 3 kids, 2 kids that I know for sure that transferred from Notre Dame, and they were backup players, but they played all the time. I mean, they played a lot. Yeah. And one's from Calumet City, right outside of Chicago, and that's why and he's teaching at Mount Carmel, and he's old enough to retire now, so he's probably gone, but he's been a coach and so forth, and another family that I got tied up with was the Bach family. The older brother played at Notre Dame, and then the younger one came to Nebraska in the end. He went to Wisconsin for a while, and I moved, and he moved, and it was one of those deals. And but it's one of those things that the kids just you don't know if they can handle it. That's the other thing. Can they handle the move? Can they handle that there's going to be some guys that don't want them there, and there's going to be some that do. And I would guess that there's probably more that do than not at this particular time. And, we got to get people to win. That's the first thing we do. And then from that point on, it'd probably be a little tougher to move a player, from first team to second team, with a guy that comes in or something like that. So that's the only thing to worry about, I think, with this whole thing, because it just turns out to be, you want to really know the players you're playing with, and that's the hard part, because you're going to be playing with some guys you don't even know their name, and they're not necessarily offensive linemen. If he's an offensive lineman, they're, it's those that are defensive backs, and those are the kids he sees every day, but he doesn't really know them. And when you're there a whole time and you can say, you get a camaraderie going, and that's probably the best thing that happened in the past. And that got us through 3 national championships, the guys that really cared about each other because they were here together, and, there wasn't a lot of movement.
Yeah, Coach McBride, I wanted to ask you, you've been in and around your fair share of spring practices, national championship teams. You've brought in new guys. You've had early enrollees, some recruits that had to come in and get some seasoning. How did you, as a defensive coordinator in your day, approach spring practices and the offseason and winter conditioning periods to get the team ready for another season of physical play in what was the Big 8?
Well, we had 20 days, and 20 days of basically what it was is teach and develop players. It was we were learning the offense, but we were spending a lot of time on teaching the game of football. In other words, the techniques and things like that. And when you have 15 days, you're really in a bind, because now you're number one, you're limited to contact. And to try to teach an offense and defensive lineman it really anybody, but it's harder to teach those guys when you don't have live work. And you only have, I don't know how many days it has of contact out of 15, maybe 12 or something like that they may have, but maybe not that much. I'm not sure. And it's just it's harder to work. You don't get as much out of your spring practice. I mean, I had 20 days of practice in high school, and it was, and you want to go to a track meet. You had guys on the football team that were on the track team, and when you had a track meet, you just left the practice and went to the track meet. That's the only way that's the only way we could do it. Of course, we were in our city school, and it was a little easier that way because you didn't have as many guys go on the track team. My senior year, we only had 4. Guys that ran, and we didn't have any weight people or anything like that. We just had runners.
Coach, want to get your thoughts on Mike Eckler coming back to coach special teams. Also has done well as a linebacker coach, and he's been a pretty good recruiter wherever he's been. I know he was at K-State as kind of a special teams demon for Coach Snyder in the 93-94 season, but Eckler's on his way back to Lincoln. What do you think?
I got a question now. Did Mike come from Fremont?
Mike was from Blair. He was a Blair, Nebraska guy.
Okay. I wasn't sure because there's an Eckler. There was a Fremont kid played at Kansas State.
Well, that might have been him, but I know he was in Blair.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know that he played at Fremont,
anyway,
but that might be him.
If that's the case, I know him. I know him from the time he was trying to get started.
Yeah,
because I was trying to help him, and he did get a job, and I can't remember where it was, but we were playing in the Holiday Bowl, and I ran into him down there for some reason. I don't remember. It's been a long time, and. But I know that that the name is familiar with me, and at that time I know Mike was a tough cookie, and then he's hard nosed guy, and if it's the same one, they better get their shorts on.
It's the same one. He's the guy he's born in David City. He's born in David City. Was in Blair. Ended up at K-State. He was one of those dudes on special teams that painted his face, Coach. He painted his face on special teams. One of those crazy guys.
Yeah. Well, it depends. A lot of times that they'll have kids helping them out, and that really is a plus. And they can actually, like Dan Young did, they can actually coach to be an assistant coach at a linebacker position or anything like that when he's not doing, work on the field with the kickers or something like that. And I know that, Dan Young was our backup, our second team linebacker, offensive line coach. And he primarily worked on pass rush and worked on, stunts and how you pick them up and all those things. And he went away in the summer and went to pro camps and got to know some of those pro guys and learned a lot from them and brought it back, and so it really helped us. And I know it really helped Mill a lot because he was primarily a run guy, and it was good to have a guy like that.
Who was probably your, and I mean this in a lovable term, but who was the craziest guy on special teams? Was it a Lance Gray? Was it a Hess? Was it a Butenbach? Talk to me here.
Well, I think most of the guys were linebackers.
So they're all nuts.
Tom, we'd start out like anybody else. We'll try to get the kids in that, we thought were deserved to play a little bit, and pretty soon we didn't do so good. If we didn't do so good, he got to a point where play the good guys. I mean, so play the best guys you got, and I think that I think that's the way you kind of got to look at it. I think you have to look at it. You know, if you have a position, we used to call them our right. You know, 1, 2, 3. You were R1 or you were L1 or vice versa, and you were numbered, and you had. I think if you have a backups, you know, the kids that are backing up, that's where you can learn a lot about the young guys.
Sure. And
to start them out right away, you have to really have a knucklehead. I mean, you got to have a guy that to be a freshman, he's got to be pretty much touched. You know what I mean? Yeah. About 30 cents short, and
that's so good.
You know, and that's the thing that happens. Some kids just love being on special teams, and I actually know a guy that was all pro for quite a few years as all pro special teams person. And I coached with him at Phoenix College, and he's now the color guy for the Cardinals.
Okay.
But it's it's a special kind of person that, you know, that is on special teams. And I think you can see that a lot of guys will make the team because they'd be backup people because they're excellent special teams guys.
That's so good. I think of Carlos Polk as well. Carlos, good ball player and was good for you guys and coached in the NFL a long time. That's funny. You got to be 30 cents short of $1. I love it. That's pretty good. Coach, we'll talk some Super Bowl. How's that sound next Monday?
Oh boy, this one ought to, you know, these guys play till it's like at the end of either a kicker or somebody that wins. It usually wins a game, so it'll be a close game. Yeah, I don't think it'll change.
No, I think it's going to be a classic, and never bet against Mahomes. You know it.
That's right.
Well,
he does some crazy things, but I'll tell you, in the end, what you can tell when he's on the field, if I was on the other side of the ball, I'd be nervous.
I bet. Amen. Coach, we'll talk soon. Appreciate your time today.
Okay, guys. I'll see you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Working hard to fact check, verify, and get the story right.
It means alerting you first to severe weather and preparing for what's ahead.
It's telling the stories that bring us together and make us proud to be Nebraskan.
Trust Cole Miller, Madison Pitch, Chief Meteorologist Ken Shumick, and Sports Director Kevin Suits. The most watched, the most trusted. That's 1011.
If you're considering a career in broadcasting, Alpha Media Lincoln and the Nebraska Broadcasters Association Foundation can help you become part of this exciting field. 3 $2,000 scholarships are available to 4-year college and university students who will have completed 30 credits as of May 31st, 2025. Let us help you reach your career goals. For more information, go to ne-ba.org. Application deadline is March 1st, 2025.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Rochelle talks about her experience with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
It was a wonderful experience. I had heard about them on the radio. They come out to your house. They let you know what they do. They let you pick out your features, your colors, and they come into your home. The morning they start, they walk you through, this is what's going to happen, and you leave for a few days, and you come home, and it's done.
Was it easy?
It made it easy because you're not in the middle of a mess for 2 or 3 months. Left on a Tuesday morning, and it was done on a Thursday night. We came home Friday morning early because we were so excited.
What was your reaction when you first saw it?
Wow.
It's about time.
3 days or less
at 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
For all your remodeling needs, call Good Guy Construction at 435-3355.
Are you tired of buying new shoes because of pain and discomfort in your ankles, knees, hips, feet, or lower back? Maybe you don't need new shoes. Maybe you need high-quality support in your shoes. That's where the Good Feet store can help you, like Teresa.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet, and the Good Feet arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed. I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. Cowboy boots, running shoes, walking shoes, flat shoes, heels. Makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store.
Live the life you love. Come to the Good Feet store today. Visit the store at 27th and Pine Lake Road across from South Point Mall or book your free fitting.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red and NFL vet.
Is Dudeness or Duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it, it's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Justin Rhodey. We welcome in Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore. You find him on Big Red Wrap-Up at JMoore44 on Twitter. Jay Bird, what's a good word, man? It's Super Bowl week. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Just in the office this afternoon, just finishing up a Monday, and had a good weekend of basketball. And wish the weather was fantastic. Wasn't able to get out and play any golf, but I actually did sneak out earlier in the week for 9 holes on Wednesday because it was incredible out last Wednesday. But yeah, we stole a few days weather-wise in February.
We did. I need your reaction. Somebody on the show, not named you, hit a 300-yard drive yesterday. Number 14 at Woodland.
Yeah, there had to be a cart path involved. Some sort of there had to be, sprinkler head, cart path involved or something. You played more golf, you gotten better, but
that's code for I still won't play with you unless it's a charity event.
Yeah, what's the backstory? There's got to be something more than I.
Well, it was 301 is what it measured in the fairway, and 14's the one with the covered bridge. You know that.
Yep. The one that I haven't played there for a while, but I know the hole you're talking about. Yep.
The one that is 8 golf balls from here to eternity for me. Well, that pond is still frozen. So I hit it and it would have cleared, but it didn't clear. And that's as good as I've hit my dad's driver. I'm using my dad's clubs because Dad spent money on his clubs and they're incredible. They've helped me. But I hit ice, it bounced. I was looking for my ball. I was ready to drop. It was dusk out. And I was like, oh, bleep, there's my ball. It wasn't OJ Golf. I didn't drop one. I didn't cheat. It was actually my ice pond covered aided 301-yard drive.
Hey, that's the beauty about playing this time of year as well. Is there's been times where I've hit into hazards, penalty areas, I guess they're now called, and your ball bounce off the ice onto dry land, or I've also played a ball off of ice before. Now, well knowing it was really thick and I wasn't going to fall in, but yeah, you can get away with a lot more this time of year. That's for sure.
Well, before you ask, yes, I 3-putted. I bogeyed.
Happens to the best of us.
So there it is. But I wanted to get Jay Moore's reaction. There's so much to dive into football news-wise from Coach Rule to Mike Eckler's return to Rocco Spindler and his arrival to Nebraska. So I want to start first with spring game and whatever that becomes. I'm not mad at it. Totally get it. A lot of good memories. You as a player, on the other hand, Jay Bird, you just wanted to get through spring unharmed. And the spring game was different for you and your mates than it is for the fans and everybody else from let's get through this thing, right? I mean, that's kind of what you guys were dealing with. It was a practice game, yes, but it was still one more one more rodeo, one more chance to go impress and improve, but another chance to get dinged.
Yeah, definitely. The spring was those necessary evils you had to get through, and the spring game was just that last one. You definitely look forward to getting somewhere after the spring game with your buds and you with your teammates and enjoying a few cold ones and celebrating that's over. But I mean, the spring game, to be honest, what we know the spring game now as, 50, 60,000, I got there, would have been the first spring, would have been 2003. People went to the spring game, but it was like more 20, 30,000 maybe. Mm-hmm. But the first year with Callahan being there and everyone wanted to see what this new offense would look like. I mean, there was 60 some thousand that first spring game. So that was actually kind of fun for about the first, 15, 20 minutes of the spring game, because there were so many more fans there. It felt somewhat like a game a little bit. But yeah, you just you wanted to get through spring ball. You wanted to get through healthy. You want to do your job, do a good job, but you didn't want any of your former teammates or your current teammates to get hurt. You want to go out there, do your necessary role, do what you need to get done, and get out of Dodge. And like I said, go find the nearest establishment later that afternoon and enjoy a few cold ones, and then looking forward to summer workouts.
Jay, I wanted to ask you, because with the spring game numbers, we know what Nebraska did last year. 4th most attended spring game in the country, nationally televised on the Big Ten Network. And Matt Rule hinted at it in his press conference where he's like, this is just another casualty of the NIL and the transfer portal. What's your take on this as a player, as somebody who, maybe, either you as a starter who went on to the NFL level, or maybe somebody deeper in the bench depth, what do you make of this from a player's perspective with the NIL and transfer portal and getting yourself on tape for your school and, apparently in this new modern era, some of these other schools that are poking around?
Yeah, you have to, in this day and age, you got to protect your roster. It's unfortunate until this thing gets cleaned up and the tampering, or however you want to call it, until there's stronger parameters put around this, where guys are signing multi-year type of contracts when they do sign for whether NIL, revenue sharing, whatever it's going to be. You got to protect your roster, because this day and age of college football, you have to continually recruit your own roster, but then go and find replacements. And that's just hard. That's a lot to ask of your staff, whether it's current coaches and obviously in your recruiting offices. So, and that's just kind of another casualty of this new generation of college football that are becoming professional sports. You have off-season programs in the NFL. You have OTAs and mini camps, but you don't have exhibition games. Those come in the preseason. And those are becoming fewer and far in between as the NFL kind of progresses as well. But you got to do the necessary things. Listen, you make a few bucks off the spring game. It's not season ticket money. Everyone has the rights to get some tickets. It's not it's not a big cash flow ender for the university by not having the spring game. They might still open it up to I don't know what it even looks like, maybe what the Pro Bowl is now, or some sort of competition. I don't know what the more of a fan fest type of a deal. I don't know what it looks like, but I cannot blame Coach Rule and his staff for having to implement these new changes, because you have guys that show up and they show out on TV and do a good job, and they see like, hey, he's second or third in the depth chart. Let's go throw him some money. We could use them, and boom, they leave. It's an unfortunate scenario, but it's the realization of college athletics, kind of in a nutshell, that you can't just giving people extra access. It's crazy to I'm saying it out loud, but it just you want to protect, and you want to keep your good players and your good rosters. And now, especially starting into next year, and then before the fall, you get down 105. These are going to get more constricted, and you want to keep the good guys on your side. So can't blame them. And again, this year after year, more stuff will keep evolving. And I'm sure what we know as college football and college athletics in general is going to look vastly different even this time next year.
Jay Moore is with us. Big Red Wrap-Up, Hail Varsity Radio at JMoore44. Rocco Spindler is in Nebraska, landing a top 5 portal class, kind of the cherry on top with Rocco, a guy that, is making the move, right? 13 starts at Notre Dame on that national championship participation team. Really great year for Notre Dame. You know how good their O-line has been, and Rocco's a guy that has a certain mentality. He's played in big games. He's played against really high-level competition. Your reaction, key piece, yes, but what can he do, in your opinion, with this offensive line? Because they've got some familiar faces still there, but it's still an influx compared to what the line was last year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of how he fits in. You know, obviously he was a center at Notre Dame. I'm foreseeing he's going to still play that position. I know Justin Evans, they had kind of thought he might move to that spot.
Rocco's had a lot of good games at right guard. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some it's nice to have options going forward. You know, losing Ben Scott, who played really well at the center position the last 2 years. But it's good. You have multiple players, whether it's Evans or Rocco, that can play that center spot. Like I said, you can never have too many tools in your tool belt when it comes to offensive line, and having players that can kind of do multiple things. So, but no, that's a huge get. Nebraska's got some nice offseason pickups here with Pritchett out of Alabama, and then you throw Rocco in the mix. That's what you need. And Nebraska, I think the offensive line performed pretty good last year. I think they probably got a little too much the blame for some offensive issues last year, but I think these key pickups will be big. You know, you're able to get Dillon on a second and going into a second year, some key wide receiver additions, and then you throw Emmett Johnson, be able to retain him in there as well. So that's it's gonna be fun to see how this offense kind of evolves. But anytime you can get key additions and guys who play tons of meaningful football and meaningful snaps, that's huge. Glad he picked us. Glad he didn't go to Virginia or Indiana, obviously, and I'm glad we had the funds to keep him here. And he'll be a day one starter. And that toughness that he brought to that Notre Dame offensive line, he needs to bring here, and just keep that. Just not saying Nebraska offensive line was not. I thought they played well, and they were plenty of tough last year. But you can, like you said, you can always get a little bit better. And he's definitely gonna make the offensive line room better, and everyone else around him better. So yeah, hats off to Coach Raiola and Coach Rule just to get that deal done. And yeah, just things are looking a little more promising for that offensive group next year.
It's Jay Moore with us, Hail Varsity Radio, Black Shirt Husker NFLer. Black Shirt Hour with Jay Bird. We'll have another segment with Jay and get his take on things. NFL, of course, winding down with the Super Bowl. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhodey. We'll have a midweek edition coming up here, the Average Joe Sports Show podcast. Check that out as well. And reminder to get buckled up with the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Driving is a full-time job. Phones, food, and friends need your attention when you're not driving. Stop the distractions. Just drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. We invite you to check out the podcast when you search Hail Varsity Radio, Spotify, iTunes, Google Plays. Like and subscribe. Hail Varsity YouTube. Justice will get that thing posted. Good intel from Tim Verghese in Hour 1 on Junior Day. His reaction to Rocco Spindler. Also in more with Jay Moore coming up.
Tonight, Omaha Central is at Lincoln North Star. You can join Will Wilson for the play-by-play. We'll have coverage beginning at 7:05 right here.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Men, are you sick of the gut? No matter what you do, you still have that gut. Limitless Male wants you to know that GLP-1s can make that gut disappear. Lose 15% of your body weight in 6 months without being hungry. And Limitless Male will guide you from start to finish. Limitless Male customizes a treatment plan with the original GLP-1s. No knockoffs. Do you have back pain? One more reason to get rid of the gut. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
At Skechers, we put the S in comfort. Wait. Skechers put the S in comfort?
Yes, comfort you have to feel to believe. Skechers, we put the S in comfort.
Let me try. Okay, I'm just stepping in and... Oh, wow. Skechers put the S in comfort.
Duh, we told you.
Find Skechers slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Business taxes. We're stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live full service.
William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx saved you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx users are compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Ready for Tuesday with KFOR, Schmidt, Carol, and Jeff.
Details on the trade situation with Canada, Mexico, and China. More revelations from the black boxes from last.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Jay Moore's with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, Black Shirt Husker NFLer. Jay, I wanted to go back to a question that was posed last time we had you on the show, and we talked about what's the trust level with this program under Matt Rule heading into year 3. Where was Rocco Spindler going to be at? You get the commitment now if you're Nebraska from Rocco Spindler, and that's a veteran guy. So what's your outlook on this from a trust perspective from the outside and a lot of these transfer portal guys on where Nebraska's at in year 3?
Yeah, I mean, my trust has never waned or never left. I fully trust Matt Rule and his commitment to this program and what he brings. So this just adds more trust. I don't know if this – I can't confidently say this is going to get them another win, or this is going to get them in the college football playoff, or this gets them into the Big Ten championship game or whatever. But I know why it gives me more trust is that we have the resources to go out and compete with the other big-time programs that were in the college football playoff, and that's the Georgias and Ohio States, and I know Alabama wasn't in the playoff, but they're right up there. And, the big dogs, right, the Texases and teams that have the resources and that have been more relevant than Nebraska has been in the last decade. We're competing there from the resource standpoint. Yeah, I know the resources are above what the team has produced in wins, but I feel like you got to have the resources first to kind of get to that the output first. So I think we're getting to that, and I see that, and I love the effort, the enthusiasm that's going to all this. You always have an opportunity to get better, and that's in multiple different ways. You're always going to try to get better in the off season through the weight room, conditioning, and then recruiting. And so this is another way Nebraska's trying to, like I said, add more tools to our tool belt, sharpen their skill sets. And that's their model they've had, is just try to get 1% better. And any additions of players who have played meaningful football, that's great. Hope it all works out for them, right? Ideally, just because it worked out at Notre Dame doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be a slam dunk deal here at Nebraska. Things change. I know that. But this was a huge pickup. But like I said, the trust has always been there for Coach Rule, and the effort and enthusiasm, and it's kind of no stone that goes left unturned has been very, very key for Coach Rule and his staff to kind of get this thing back. It's trending, right? Everything's just kind of trending in the right directions.
Jay Moore with us, couple more minutes. It's Hail Varsity. So, Jay, want to get your take on the return of the Eck. Mike Eckler back this morning. That news coming down, and made a pretty good bit of coin at Tennessee, but those results were incredible. We're talking a total of 115 return yards. That's it. It's all Tennessee allowed. They've been an elite unit under Eck's guidance. Of course, linebackers coach there at Rocky Top as well since 2021. And coming back home to Nebraska, Eck's one of our favorites, the times we've had a chance to be around him. But what a nice ad. You've got Dana, of course, you got Butler, and now you get Eckler, Jay Bird, with him coming in to run special teams. And, man, he's been all over the country, so there's so many different recruiting bases he's been a part of, but just a big-time get for Nebraska. And are you surprised Nebraska was able to land Eckler?
Yes and no. I think it's always tough for a guy to come who was here at one time with a different staff and then left. I can't remember I know he's only here for 2 or 3 years. I cannot, because he didn't go to Tennessee right after Nebraska. Did he go to LSU for a little while?
He started at LSU with Bo.
Yeah.
Followed Bo to Lincoln, of course, from LSU.
Yep.
Found his way with Les Miles. Back down at Kansas, Spent time at USC, was at North Texas, was at North Carolina, and then teamed up with Heupel. He was teamed up with Heupel, and Heupel got hired at Tennessee, and then Heupel hired Eckler to Tennessee.
Got it. Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, you're good.
I know he'd gone to other places, but yeah, it's hard once you've been somewhere. And they were obviously very, very. He was successful at Nebraska, and had Levante David, and he's here with Pliny earlier in his
Will
time
Compton.
here. Yeah. So a huge pickup. I loved Coach Eckler. Got to know him a little bit. Just spent a little bit of time around him. I was still playing when he was coaching here. I was potentially even thinking about getting into the coaching business at that time.
He was at Georgia too. I forgot. Georgia.
Yeah. So his energy and enthusiasm is what the special teams need. And I talked about it. It's coaching special teams is it's an effort thing. It's an enthusiasm thing. Yeah, there's some X's and O's to it, but more importantly than not, it's you got to play with your hair on fire. On those 4 phases of that, the 4 main phase: kickoff, return, punt, return, and he's going to bring that. He just epitomizes energy and passion for the game of football. So love that he is back here. He's a good recruiter too. Has got some good players to where he's been. So don't forget that as well. But big time get. Love that he's back. I fully expect these special teams to have a greater impact. It's not just because we're gonna have hopefully fingers crossed a more better long snapping, but I think you're going to see just the effort on all phases within that special teams. That no one's going to return any yards on us, and we're going to steal yards. It's no more fair catching. It's we're going to steal a first down, almost try to get every 10 yards plus every return if we can. And we're going after kicks. We're going after we're going to block punts. We're going to block kicks. We're going to steal points. We're going to do whatever it takes to get this thing corrected. But he's definitely the man for the job. I always said the special teams coaches are just they're different. They're crazy. And he possesses that, man. He is he's fun. He's going to make special teams playing for him. It's going to be fun. He's going to coach you hard, but he's going to love you hard. But he's going to get full effort. He's going to maximize everything out of those special teams positions, and that's what Nebraska needs. That's the phase that has been lacking, and more times than not, for all these 1-score losses we've had, the last 6-7 years, the special teams have unfortunately just kind of been the reason for that. It's kicking, snapping, field position battles, all those things all fall into those categories, and that's going to get fixed here real quick when he steps foot on campus.
Talk to me about Super Bowl 59 here, about 90 seconds. Birds or the Chiefs?
Yeah, fly, Eagles, fly.
Okay, you going with the old Cam Jurgens and Nick Gates?
I would love to see the Chiefs. I'm all about history. It'd be cool to see a team win 3 in a row. I just think that the Chiefs' running attack is going to be really good, and Saquon, their ability to get him going. But I think Hurts' legs can do some things. But I just feel like the Eagles have more weapons than the Chiefs do. But I fully understand who's getting the ball and we're in 15 for the Chiefs. I totally get it. And that's why it's going to be a fantastic game. That's why the Chiefs easily could get their 3rd in a row, because Patrick Mahomes is still back there at quarterback.
Okay. Do you have a prediction?
Give me let's go Philly. Let's go Philly 31, Chiefs 23.
Okay. Eagles by 8.
I think it's a tight one, but I think the Eagles get a late score or get a field goal late to kind of seal the deal and just make it. But I tell you, Spagnuolo, giving him 2 weeks, I wouldn't be surprised though if they can shut down Saquon. But I like Philly. I think they have too many weapons right now.
They're physical
Love
in the
it.
trenches of that Philly team.
Jay, we'll holler a week from today, and we'll go over that correctly predicted score.
A divorce, your home, savings, retirement, maybe even kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce and the unexpected directions it can take, you really need a partner you can count on. I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. We're committed to helping protect your personal interests and the life you've built. Don't let divorce take more than it has to. Talk to us today.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
February is American Heart Month, the perfect time to focus on your health. Even a small change can make a big impact on your heart health. Try adding a vegetable to your dinner or a no-salt seasoning. Looking for support in making these small changes? Join a healthy living program to learn about healthy lifestyle changes with a supportive and encouraging group. Search Chronic Disease Nebraska for more information. Paid for by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Culligan has a long history of providing custom solutions to address the area's water worries. Local water issues, including PFAS, arsenic, nitrates, and bacteria, can wreak havoc on your home and health. You can trust Culligan to deliver better water solutions and better service. No one else offers the combination of local expertise and industry-leading technology like Culligan. Contact Culligan for water you love. Contaminants may not be in your water.
Which room in your home could use new flooring? Carpets Direct is your #1 source for all things floors, providing free in-home estimates, unparalleled service, and a 2-year guarantee. Your home should be your sanctuary, and Carpets Direct has you covered. From plush carpet, luxury vinyl, hardwood, laminate, and sheet vinyl flooring, Carpets Direct is the ultimate flooring destination. Call or visit today, South 48th Street, Lincoln.
When you become a volunteer advocate with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, you join a grassroots network of over 45,000 people speaking out for suicide prevention and mental health. Join suicide prevention advocates at the state capitol for AFSP's Advocacy Action Day on Tuesday, March 4th. Register at afsp.org/Nebraska. Learn about the public policy priorities AFSP's volunteer advocates are championing at all levels of government to prevent suicide. Visit afsp.org/advocacy today and join us in the fight to stop suicide.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected. Also, you forgot to renew your website domain, and now you're in a bidding war.
You should see the look on your face.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room, and now everything.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time on a Monday with Hail Varsity. And good to have Justice hanging out. So the blowback, the feedback, you're a big NBA guy, Justice, with Luka. And AD, what do you take away?
I mean, I could tell you this, where I was like we as a group, like a friend group, me and my
because you're still like locked into the NBA.
Oh yeah,
because you grew up watching the Thunder. And...
yeah, huge Thunder fan. Yeah, no, like listen, I don't have any love for the Mavericks. I'm gonna be totally honest. I'm gonna show
little bit of a rival.
Show the hand. There's been some friendly competitiveness. They kind of bounced the Thunder in the second round last year, but we don't do a lot of group FaceTimes as a friend group, right? Well, the Luka news broke. We all thought Shams Charania got hacked, and we're like, oh my goodness, this is happening. This can't be real. And then a bunch of other people started confirming it, and we're like, whoa, what's going on? So we all hop in a group FaceTime. We're like, dude, what's going on? Like, is Adam Silver pulling some strings? Like, what happened here? Well, come to look at the fallout here. It's like Nico Harrison didn't tell Jason Kidd until the deal had already went through. He didn't tell he went to the owner to propose the idea and got laughed out of the room. He approached Rob Pelinka about a deal, and they kept it like super under wraps. And Rob Pelinka's like, okay, like, I'd love to do a deal here, but I'm sure it costs an arm and a leg. And when you heard the actual price, they started talking. And now that the news is breaking, it's just shocking because how many times do you see two All-NBA players traded for each other in the same season? It's like in the middle of the season. That's the wild part is. And Luka just bought a $15 million house last week in Dallas. Like, he was fully prepared to sign an extension and be there long term. And now he's a Los Angeles Laker, which is amazing for the league and for marketing revenue. But as a fan, it's like the shock value is still very much prevalent with where we are right now.
No kidding. Game Dog says if the Chiefs three-peat and seal the three-peat, Pat Riley, the old legendary coach, will get the massive profits as he's trademarked it. He trademarked it back in 89. Straight cash for Pat. I love that. I remember watching the celebration as a kid when they won the first. They outlasted the Celtics in 80. It was 87 because the Celtics won it in 86. Lakers won it in 87, and Pat's up there at the victory parade and says, we're going to do it again. All right. Well, they're up there after they win it. And the next time Pat's at the podium, it was Kareem or Magic or somebody that put their hands around Pat's mouth saying, dude, don't call us out. This was hell trying to do it. The bad boy Pistons swept the Lakers. And then the bad boy Pistons went back to back as they did it over Portland, the mighty Kevin Duckworth squad. I kid because it was Clyde's squad. And I think Buck Williams, too, if memory serves. And then here came Jordan and the Bulls for the first three-peat there. So, yeah. Yes, Game Dog. It was 87, 88, the Lakers, and then 88, 89, 89, 90 for the Pistons. But, yep. Terry Porter. Good call with Terry Porter.
Yeah.
Bucks still have a tear in their eye for that deal.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We're back tomorrow at 4. Mitch Sherman with us. We'll run down Brunsey tomorrow. And Andy Markowski. Talk to you at 4 with Hail Varsity.